Hello, welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Less than a day after securing the rescue of 30 civilians, the Nigerian army has announced another major victory in the anti-insurgency war. Its spokesperson, Brigadier General Sani Usman, on Wednesday announced the rescue of 212 civilians from the terrorist sect. The civilians were rescued as part of clearance operations in several local government areas in Borno State. 8 terrorists were killed while a commander identified as Amir of Chawa and Manjudi was also arrested. The captured terrorist leader is undergoing further interrogations while the rescued persons are being documented and the underage children administered oral polio vaccines. As questions continue to arise from the discovery of a migrant slave market in Libya, President Muhammadu Buhari has assured Nigerians in the country will be evacuated. The president gave the assurance during an interactive session with Nigerians in Ivory Coast. He was reacting to a CNN report which showed the action of some migrants, allegedly including Nigerians in Libya. President Buhari assured he is aware of the situation and will evacuate identified Nigerians to be rehabilitated in the country. Meanwhile, in another development, 242 Nigerians have voluntarily returned from the North African country. The Nigerians returned on Tuesday night with the assistance of the Nigerian embassy in Libya. The return, which was confirmed by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, brings the total number of Nigerian returnees from Libya to 1,475 in 2 months. The Nigerian Senate has been debating the illegal migration of Nigerians to Europe. The Senate during plenary on Tuesday asked the federal government to establish measures to checkmate the rise in illegal migration. It specially described the situation in Libya as embarrassing for Nigeria. The senators also want President Muhammadu Buhari to use the opportunity presented by the EU-AU summit to address the migration issues. World leaders are also debating on the issue of illegal migrants. The topic is one of the biggest discussion points at the African Union-European Union summit. In her speech, German Chancellor Angela Merkel is advocating the creation of a legal route for Africans to come to Europe. Merkel, who in 2015 decided to open Germany's border to migrants, said legal options needed to be created for Africans to be able to get training or study in an EU country. The AU-EU summit will also focus on education, investment in youth and economic development to prevent refugees and economic migrants from attempting the treacherous journey across the Mediterranean. The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, has suspended its nationwide strike 15 days after the industrial action began. National President of ASUP, Usman Duse, announced this on Wednesday during the union's 14th National Delegate Conference at Bauchi State. He said the decision to suspend the strike followed the series of meetings held between the leadership of the union and the federal government. According to Duse, both parties agreed to a memorandum of settlement and action on each of the issues raised by the union. It's been over 12 years since 6 traders were killed in the Uphold district of Abuja. 6 persons were charged for the offense, while 4 were acquitted. The other 2 were sentenced to death. Now, one of the acquitted persons, a police officer in charge of the affairs at the time, Danjuma Ibrahim, has been reinstated. His reinstatement has drawn the attention of the Nigerian Senate, who are questioning the decision. The matter has been referred to the Upper Chamber's Committee on Ethics and Privileges for further investigation. Meanwhile, the police has defended its decision to reinstate the officer. In a statement, the Police Service Commission said the decision is based on the judgment of an appeal filed by Danjuma Ibrahim. Ibrahim had filed an appeal requesting his reinstatement, restoration, payment of arrears of salary, benefits, and other entitlements. The appeal was filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja, and judgment was delivered in his favor. President Muhammadu Buhari has written to the Nigerian Senate seeking confirmation of 10 nominees as members of the Code of Conduct Bureau. The president's letter was read at Wednesday plenary by Senate President Bukola Saraki. The appointees are Muhammad Isse from Jigawa State, who will serve as chairman of the CCB, Murtala Kinkia from Katsina State, Emmanuel Atta from Cross River State, Danjuma Sadu from Edo State, Obolo Okmanachi from Kogi State, Ken Madaki Alkali from Nasarawa State, SF Ogundari from Oyo State, Ganiyu Hamzat from Ogun State, Sahad Abubakar from Gombe State, and Vincent Nwanne from Ebonyi State. The Nigerian government may be fighting corruption, but according to the Senate President, the anti-corruption bodies are derailing the war. Bukola Saraki is accusing anti-corruption agencies of relooting funds recovered by their officials. He said this at an event tagged Strategic Retreat on Tracking the Progress of Anti-Corruption Bills in the National Assembly in Abuja on Tuesday. According to him, this is the reason some countries do not have confidence in Nigeria to properly manage assets recovered from looters. Still on Nigeria's fight against corruption, the federal government has defended the delayed payment of the Ikoyi whistleblower. Speaking on the issue, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed said the existence of several claimants to the money is the reason the government is yet to pay the 5% commission of the amount recovered from the apartment. The government had earlier claimed the delay was as a result of efforts to cancel the whistleblower to save his sanity. Meanwhile, one of the claimants, identified as Abdulmumini Musa, who claims to have been instrumental in the discovery of the monies on Tuesday, filed a suit against the federal government at the Federal High Court in Abuja. About 4,000 government employees in northern Nigeria's Kaduna State have been sacked, sparking outrage among trade unions. The state government said the workers, mainly in administrative posts, were unproductive and were dismissed to reduce the bloated bureaucracy and the wage bill. Their dismissal is the latest shock for government employees. Earlier this month, 22,000 teachers were fired after they failed a competency test. Labor unions say the government is sacking the workers to hire those loyal to the ruling All Progressive Congress Party, which took over elections in 2015. They have vowed to challenge the dismissal in courts.
Corruption not in my country.
That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
That's how we roll.
Because let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much of it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
In that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for one that understand business.
Take.
Your loss.
It is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get that.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
You will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make una only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Let's look at business stories with Ngozi Okoye.
Thank you, Fidelia. The Central Bank of Nigeria has injected another $210 million to boost liquidity in the interbank foreign exchange market. Acting Director Corporate Communications Department of the Apex Bank, Isaac Okorafo, said the sum of $100 million was offered to the wholesale segment, while the small and medium enterprise segment got an allocation of $55 million. Also, the invincible segment, which comprises of tuition fees, medical payments, and basic travel allowances, among others, was also allocated $55 million. Meanwhile, the Naira maintained its steady rate against the US dollar, exchanging for 361 Naira per dollar. Still on CBN, the size of non-performing loans in the Nigeria banking system has hit a record of 856.9 billion Naira. The amount is in excess of 20%, exceeding the Central Bank of Nigeria's 5% threshold. Now, this according to the director of the Nigerian Deposits Insurance Corporation, NDIC, Adedapo Adeleke, says the situation is quite worrying and need to be addressed. We sought the opinion of financial analysts on the overall economic implication of the rise in NPLs, and here is what he told us.
When the incidence of non-performing loan is increasing, the banks now tend to err on the side of caution by reducing their lending. And that is what they're seeing, that we're seeing the banks beginning to de-risk their balance sheet. So you're going to see progressively a reduction in lending. And the problem with reduction in lending is that lending actually facilitates economic activities. When banks stop lending, economic activities begin to shrink. And that was also manifested in the third quarter GDP results that showed that the non-oil sector contracted by 0.76% in the third quarter, which simply means that the non-oil sector is not getting enough oxygen in terms of credit that they require from the banking system.
Meanwhile, the Apex Bank is in an attempt to curtail the rise in bad loans has approved the new corporate governance code, which stipulates the bank directors with non-performing loans are to either quit or be sacked. The action is in response to the rise in cases of insider loans, which the bank directors grant unsecured loans to themselves and never pay back. This is what Mr. Chukwu has to say about the issue.
The lending rate is too high today. If anybody borrows at 30%, you need to have a very high profit margin and a short asset conversion cycle to be able to pay back to meet your interest payment obligations. So if interest rates come down, it becomes easier for companies to pay their debt. So one of the first things we need to do is that they encourage the Monetary Policy Committee to bring down lending rates by reducing the cash reserve ratio and the liquidity ratio. The central bank, the federal government on this part should reduce the amount it's borrowing from the public. By borrowing so much, it's crowding out the private sector. It's crowding out liquidity from the system, and there's a pushing up the cost of funds.
Oil prices slipped on Wednesday as doubts set in about Russia's willingness to likely extend the deal to cut oil production. Oil minister from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and other producers began gathering in Vienna on Wednesday to discuss extending a deal that has so far reduced crude oil production by 1.8 million barrels per day and helped boost oil prices by 40% since the middle of the year. The deal between most OPEC members and other major exporters, including Russia, is scheduled to expire in March 2018. Meanwhile, Brent crude futures were down 22 cents on the day at $63.39, while U.S. light crude fell 25 cents to $57.74 a barrel. The Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, Moni Guazo, has been suspended from office. Mr. Guazo was suspended on Wednesday by the Finance Minister, Kemi Adeosun. The suspension is to allow for an unhindered investigation of several allegations of financial abnormality leveled against him. According to the statement from the Federal Ministry of Finance, the suspension is in line with the Public Service Rules PSRs 03405 and 03406. The Honorable Minister has set up an administrative panel of inquiry to investigate and determine the culpability of the Director General. She has directed the suspended SEC DG to immediately hand over to the most senior officer at the Commission, pending the conclusion of investigation by the panel. Also suspended were two management staff of the Commission, Head of Media Division Abdul Salam Naif Habu and Head of Legal Department Anastasia Omozele Barimo, who have been alleged to engage in financial misdeed in the Commission. And now to stock report. The all-share index of the Nigeria Stock Exchange maintained an uptrend by 0.55%, closing the day at 37,709.20 basis points. Similarly, the equity capitalization returned to 13 trillion naira mark, which it hit last week, but again declined. The market was driven by price appreciation of low, medium, and high carb stock like Nestle, with a rise of 1.94%, closing at 1,315 naira. Fort Oil, Unilever, and UACN, among others, also impacted positively on the all-share index. On the flip side, Mobil again saw its stock prices inch further down by 1.75 after leading the list yesterday. Also, PZ Cussons remained on the losers list. Lafarge Africa plc and Nascon Allied Industries also saw drops in price. The top traders in terms of volume again saw Wapik Insurance plc topping the list. The financial service industry had Fidelity Bank and First Bank of Nigeria Holdings trading as much as 60 and 43 million shares respectively. Tantalizer plc made its way back to that list. The market activities in terms of volumes were 441.808 million shares valued at 13.132 billion naira. The number of deals were 4,263. And that's it on business. We'll return with more stories after the break. Please stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. Two of us.
Thank you very much, officer. You know, it's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no. You don't need to do this. We're only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Okay, which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Glad to have you back. 50 people were killed in raids by a tribal militia in eastern South Sudan on Wednesday. This is the latest in a series of attacks between rival communities. Duj Achwek, a state minister, said 8 people died in an attack on Monday in Jonglei State, while a follow-up raid on Tuesday left 23 women killed and 19 men dead. Most of the victims were civilians whose homes were burned and livestock stolen. Egypt's president has told the military it can use all force necessary to secure the Sinai Peninsula following last week's attack on a mosque that killed more than 300 people. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ordered the army to secure and stabilize the region within 3 months. No group has yet claimed responsibility for the attack, although there is considerable evidence pointing to the Egyptian branch of so-called Islamic State. Moving on to sports now, the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) has offered Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr a new 2-year deal that will run until 2020, barely 6 months to the end of his current contract. Coach Rohr was handed the role of the technical advisor of the senior national team in August 2016. President of the NFF, Amaju Pinnick, says the move is to ensure there are no distractions around the country's 2018 FIFA World Cup preparation. The 63-year-old has only lost 1 competitive match since taking over the team in August 2016. 150 athletes are expected to storm Abuja this weekend to compete in the annual Korean Ambassadors Cup scheduled to hold on December 1st and 2nd, 2017 at the National Stadium, Abuja. The event, which is organized by the Nigerian Taekwondo Federation and sponsored by the Republic of Korea Embassy, has a total of 150 athletes from 3 countries, 18 Nigerian states, 26 clubs and the paramilitary. They will compete in Olympic categories of male minus 58 kg, minus 68 kg, minus 80 kg and plus 80 kg, as well as female 49 kg, minus 57 kg, minus 67 kg and plus 67 kg. Alan Pardew has been appointed as West Brom's new head coach on a 2.5-year contract. He will replace Tony Pulis, who was sacked earlier this month. John Carver, assistant to Padgett during his time at Newcastle, will also join the backroom staff at the Hortons. Well, that's all on news now. Thanks for watching. I am Fidelia Aguncha.